There are moments, quiet, heavy, unshaken by noise, where it feels like the world has forgotten you, like life itself is on pause, watching as your dreams stand in the doorway, waiting to be invited in. You've done everything right, you've waited, you've held on, you've smiled through the ache, and still nothing, no sign, no thunder, no letter from fate, just silence. But let me tell you something not everyone dares to believe. This silence is not the end, it is the prelude. It is the prelude. You are not being ignored. You are being watched. Not in judgment, but in awe. Because those who can endure without reward are those who have already begun the becoming. You see, the surprise doesn't come when you beg for it. It comes when you least expect it. When your hands are no longer clenched in desperation, but open in surrender. It comes like the wind through a window you didn't realize you left open. Not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. You think you're still waiting, you're not. The shift has already begun. The ground beneath you is already cracking open to make room for something bigger, something better. Not just success, but alignment. Not just results, but resonance. The long wait wasn't wasted. No tear was misplaced, no effort unseen, because what grows in silence grows deep. And what grows deep cannot be shaken when the storm comes. That's what this has all been about. The delay wasn't punishment. It was proof. Proof that your patience had a purpose. Proof that you could be trusted with the weight of what's coming and what is coming. Oh, it's more than what you imagined. It's not just the thing you hoped for. It's the version of you who can carry it with grace, with strength, with humility. You won't just receive the surprise. You'll match it. You'll recognize it not as luck, but as homecoming. So let this moment wash over you. Not because everything is perfect, but because the wait is over. You've crossed the invisible line. You are standing at the edge of the reveal. Life has been preparing you in secret, and now, soon, very soon, it will show you why it took so long. Be ready. The surprise isn't far away, it's just one moment ahead of your belief. Life often seems to withhold the very things we desire most. It's a strange feeling, knowing you've worked hard, hoped earnestly, and waited patiently, and still what you seek remains out of reach. There's a kind of ache and longing, especially when time continues to move forward, and the answer doesn't come. It can make you question whether your efforts matter, whether what you're hoping for will ever arrive, or, worse, whether it was meant for you at all. But delay, though uncomfortable, is not always a sign of denial. Sometimes it is something far more complex and meaningful, a form of preparation that happens out of sight, beyond your understanding, in places you don't yet have access to. The truth is, just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Growth isn't always loud or obvious. Often it's buried beneath the silence, taking root silence, developing strength, where no one is watching. When life holds something back, it might be because the version of you today wouldn't be able to carry the weight of what's coming. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means the thing itself is too important to be given prematurely. Just like fruit needs the right season to ripen, outcomes need the right conditions to unfold. That takes time, but more importantly, it takes process. A seed doesn't sprout the moment it touches the soil. It sinks into darkness, breaks apart, and begins to transform long before anything becomes visible above ground. Your waiting is much the same. Something inside you is shifting, adjusting, getting stronger. You may not notice it at first. In fact, you may feel the opposite, tired, discouraged, lost. But what feels like understand that delay can be meaningful. Don't panic when answers take time. They understand that waiting isn't about doing something, it's about becoming something. And becoming takes time. This is where your character is built, where your perspective widens, where your ability to receive the future you've been asking for is developed. But it's easy to want the outcome, but it's another thing entirely. It's easy to entirely to be ready for it. That readiness isn't just about skill, it's about maturity, about emotional capacity, about having the right spirit to steward what you receive without losing yourself in it. If life gave you everything you asked for right now, would you know what to do with it? Could you protect it? Could you handle the responsibility, the complexity, the demands that come with it? These are the hidden questions being answered in the wait, not with words, but with time. Time that shapes, refines, and builds you from the inside out. So while you may not see anything yet, don't mistake that for absence. Something is happening, something essential, something only delay can deliver. There's something deeply mysterious about the way life unfolds. You can plan every detail, dream with precision, work with unwavering discipline, and still the moment of breakthrough does not arrive when you think it should. Instead, it shows up on an ordinary Tuesday. It walks in quietly, through the side door, while your back is turned. It doesn't wait for you to be dressed for success, lower a tress, or emotionally prepared. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or with fair warning. It comes when your guard is down, when you've finally let go of the timelines you built in your mind. That's the strange part about surprises. They don't follow your script. They follow something deeper, something only life understands. It's almost as if life itself isn't moved by what you wish for out loud, but by how you continue when nothing seems to be working. It's not the grand declaration, that desperate hope that catch its attention. It's the quiet persistence, the refusal to give up, the decision to keep going even when there is no visible reward. Think of it like walking through a dense forest. You're trying to reach the clearing, but the trees never seem to thin. You keep moving despite the fatigue, the confusion, the uncertainty. You're not even sure how far you've come or how much further you have to go. Then one day, with no announcement, the path opens, the sky clears, the light pours in. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because you kept walking. That's what persistence looks like. It isn't glamorous, it isn't loud, but it is powerful. It's what life responds to. Not noise, not pressure, but presence, consistency, endurance. So many people believe they must push harder, yell louder, or strive more desperately to bring change. But life often surprises those who have grown quiet, not out of defeat, but out of trust. Out of a deeper kind of wisdom that understands the rhythm of becoming. There is something sacred about those who carry on without constant applause, who do not require recognition to stay faithful to their path. These are the people life tends to reward, not with what they asked for, but with what they truly need. And often, what they truly need ends up being far better than what they once begged for. Surprises come when we stop chasing them, when we are no longer clinging but standing open, when our hearts have softened from striving and our minds have cleared from noise. That's when something shifts. Something unseen begins to move in your direction. And the very thing you thought had passed you by suddenly appears, not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of person who could receive it without fear or pride. That's the real surprise. Not just what arrives, but who you are by the time it does. Life seems to wait for that moment, not the moment you prayed the hardest, but the moment you quietly refuse to give up. When we find ourselves in long stretches of waiting, it can often feel like nothing is happening. We look around at our lives, our dreams, our progress, and see stillness, almost like a frozen frame where time passes but nothing changes. In those moments, doubt starts whispering. Maybe I'm stuck. Maybe I've failed. Maybe this is all there is. But what if that stillness isn't emptiness at all? What if the most important parts of your growth are happening in places you cannot see? Think of a seed planted in the soil. From the surface, it looks like absolutely nothing is happening. Day after day, the earth appears undisturbed, but beneath it, the seed is undergoing a quiet transformation. It breaks open, it sends down roots, it anchors itself deep into the ground before it ever dares to push upward. This is not wasted time. It's necessary time. Because without strong roots, anything that blooms would be too fragile to last. It's the same with us. In our waiting, something within us is taking root. Patience, perspective, resilience, the ability to handle the weight of what's coming. These things don't form during ease and success. They grow in the tension of uncertainty, in the silence, in the stretch of time where we're tempted to give up but choose to stay. It's easy to admire the visible results, the job offer, the opportunity, the open door, the breakthrough moment. But all of that is just the flower. The roots are what made it possible. And roots by their nature are invisible. That's why waiting feels so discouraging, because we can't always tell that we're growing. We can't measure it with our eyes, but if you've stayed patient, if you've chosen not quit, if you've woken up one more day, willing to try again, then something is growing. And it matters more than you think. This kind of growth doesn't look like progress to the outside world. It's internal. It happens in the way you think, in how you respond to pressure, in how you choose hope over cynicism. It happens in how you get up after failure, and in how you stay kind when you feel forgotten. All of that is part of your unseen development. And just like roots prepare the plant for the seasons ahead, this internal growth is preparing you to receive what you're waiting for in a way that won't overwhelm you or break you. When the moment finally comes, the opportunity, the answer, the shift, it might look like it arrived suddenly, but you'll know the truth. It didn't appear out of nowhere. It grew from the season where nothing seemed to be happening. It came from the waiting. It came from the work beneath the surface. The waiting season was never empty. It was always creating something essential, something lasting. Even now it still is. Hope is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it as a naive kind of positivity, the sort that pretends everything is fine, even when reality clearly shows otherwise. But real hope is far more demanding. It doesn't ignore struggle. It doesn't look away from pain. It sees the difficulty clearly and still chooses to move forward. Hope is not about closing your eyes to what's wrong. It's about opening them wider and walking ahead anyway. That takes strength. Not the loud kind that everyone notices, but the steady kind that doesn't give up when circumstances refuse to change. There's a quiet courage in those who hold on to hope. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need attention. It's in the person who wakes up one more day and tries again, even after yesterday was full of setbacks. It's in the one who keeps building, keeps practicing, keeps showing up, even when no reward is in sight. Hope becomes a daily decision, not a fleeting emotion. It's not something you simply feel. It's something you practice. What makes hope powerful is that it sustains action long enough for change to actually happen. Without it, discouragement settles in like heavy fog. You lose sight of possibility, and when you lose sight of it, you stop moving toward it. That's why hope matters so much. It keeps the vision alive when circumstances haven't yet caught up. It tells you that what you're facing right now is not the whole story. It's just one chapter in progress. This doesn't mean hope is easy. In fact, it can be exhausting to hold on to it when nothing seems to shift. That's why so many people give up. Not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because the gap between effort and results felt too wide. Yet, it's within that gap that hope does its deepest work. It steadies your hands. It keeps your feet moving. It whispers that the time spent waiting is not meaningless, that perseverance is shaping you into someone when the won't collapse, when the breakthrough finally comes. You might notice that hopeful people often seem calm, even in struggle. That's because their courage doesn't come from pretending life is easy. It comes from understanding that struggle itself is part of the process. They know that storms pass, that winter eventually turns to spring, that delay is not the same as denial. This perspective doesn't come naturally. It's built over time through choosing hope again and again until it becomes second nature. So when nothing around you changes, when doors stay closed and answers don't come, hope is what keeps you from collapsing under the weight of disappointment. It doesn't make the path shorter, but it keeps your strength alive long enough to finish it. It's not blind optimism. It's vision sharpened by struggle, courage tested in silence, and faith that something better is still ahead. There is a strange and often invisible moment that happens just before everything changes. It's the moment when you feel most tired, most uncertain, and most tempted to give up. The irony is, that moment doesn't mean you're off course. It usually means you're closer than ever to the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Struggle tends to reach its peak right before the release. Pressure intensifies just before things open up. It's as if life pushes the hardest at the finish line, testing whether you truly want what you've been pursuing. It's easy to misread this stage. You might feel like things are falling apart. You might look at your situation and see no signs of progress. But under the surface, movement is happening. Not always the kind you can measure, but the kind that shifts reality in the most lasting ways. The noise in your life may be louder, not because you're losing, but because you're about to cross into a new chapter. Resistance is often a clue, not of failure, but of forward motion. Mountains seem tallest just before you reach the top. The climb gets steeper before the view appears. When you're at this point, your emotions may lie to you. Fatigue can distort your judgment. Discouragement can whisper that all your effort was wasted. But the truth is, you're not starting over. You're arriving. All the hours, the setbacks, the lessons, the silence, it has all been leading to something. The final stretch feels the hardest because your growth has made you ready for what's next. You're not the same person who began this journey. You've built endurance, sharpened your character, and learned to stand even when nothing around you gave you reason to. That inner strength is what prepares you to step into the next stage without being undone by it. There's a reason the final few moments of labor are the most intense before new life begins. There's a reason storms rage just before they break. It's a rhythm built into everything: pressure, peak, then release. But if you quit too soon, you miss the turn. You stop digging inches before striking gold. You abandon the path just before it opens into something new. That's why holding on matters, especially when holding on feels impossible. It's not weakness to feel weary. It's a sign you've been walking a long road. And if the weight feels heavier now, it might mean you're just a breath away from lightness. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't announce itself until you've already stepped into it. You look back and realize the moment you almost gave up was the moment it all began to change. So don't be fooled by the pressure. Don't mistake exhaustion for defeat. This may be the final test before the shift. And if you can just hold on a little longer, breathe a little deeper, trust a little more, you might find that everything you've been waiting for has already started moving in your direction.